In our third episode of Living with La Soufriere, we would attempt to gauge how the tourism sector and the business sector have rebounded from the eruptions just over a year ago. We caught up with Minister of Tourism Carlos James, who explained that while the eruption was a double whammy, given that it coincided with the COVID-19 pandemic, the sector is showing positive signs of a comeback.
It's certainly been a challenge, and even before the La Soufriere, we had the COVID-19 pandemic, which has affected St Vincent and the Grenadines, our tourism product. But we remained resilient, and we have some stakeholders within the industry who are fighters, and I want to commend them for all of the hard work. They kept their hotels open, they kept the restaurants open, even the water taxi operators. They were so resilient during this period, and we have seen a slight increase in terms of our numbers. We had roughly over 228 calls to our destination, with about 12 to 14 new inaugural calls actually from cruise tourism. We continue to receive flights from Miami, New York, and recently from Canada, but there are some issues with Toronto with direct flights to St Vincent and the Grenadines. But we have seen quite a remarkable recovery. Are we at our pre-COVID numbers? No, we're not, but we're slowly recovering and getting there. Yachting has really been one of the more resilient part of the tourism product. We still saw the solidarity from our yachties who came in and who said, look, despite the volcano, we're coming to St Vincent. Quite a number of them actually, when they came, they brought food supplies and water and so on, and to really give support to our communities. So we have been seeing some recovery within that aspect of tourism. We've been looking to rebrand and do a number of different initiatives. So for instance, next year we're hoping to start off the season with an international sailing week, which will be coming to St Vincent and the Grenadines for the very first time, incorporating the regatta and Beckway and the Easterval on Union Island and Myron Canoan, which is in the Grenadines, but also doing a lot more in terms of our focus on ecotourism. Quite a number of investors are looking to venture into the north coast of St Vincent. Sandals, beaches. They will be bringing in one of their beaches, the very first within the Eastern Caribbean. The Marriott, we're looking to start civil works to the construction of the Marriott Hotel on mainland. There's a Holiday Inn Express, Royal Mill, another 300-room facility, and also Pace Development. So there are quite a number of, we're hoping by 2025 to at least add another 1,000 rooms to our room stock, and a lot of the smaller family-run hotel operations in St Vincent and the Grenadines, they are also doing some expansive work, and we continue to see the resilience of those stakeholders within the economy.
The minister explained that the demand for St Vincent and the Grenadines as a destination is still very high, but a lot of marketing had to be done in the immediate aftermath of the eruption to let persons in the source market know that the island is still very much open for business.
Even pre-volcano, and during the COVID period, we remained open. We remained one of the few destinations within the region to stay open and welcome visitors. Post-eruption of the La Soufriere, we also remained open. Just our airspace was closed for just a few days, with ash and flow and so on. But we continue to see people say, look, we want to visit St Vincent and the Grenadines, and we continue to push the destination within our source market, leading source markets, and we've been doing a number of road shows and the like. Next week I head off to Miami for a sea trade, and it's one of the exercises in which we're giving a lot more support to the industry and to stakeholders by doing a lot more marketing and promotion going into the next season.
Director of the country's Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Anthony Regisford, said that the eruption has in fact had some spin-off potential for the island's marketability as a destination.
The irony of it is that now that you've had a volcano erupting and that news has gone worldwide, you have come and covered it, other news channels have come and covered it, there's a curiosity about what such a geological feature looks like, and that in itself can be marketed as a tourism attraction. And I already see people running with that and doing organized hikes now that the trail is sort of reopened. It's not the trail as you know it before the eruption, but people are curious. People want to see what this geological feature looks like, and those who knew it before want to see the changes, and tourists having heard of a recently erupted volcano, clearly there's an interest. So sometimes you can make lemonade with lemons.
As for the impact of the eruptions on the business sector, Regisford told the Nation News team that the event had a severe impact on commerce, but a year later, those challenges have largely dissipated.
We're a year on from the eruption in 2021, and as you know, back when it was actually happening, we had significant disruptions to commerce, mainly because of the ash fall, which created an impossible situation for businesses to continue doing business in a normal way in the commercial center. And so that was the main disruptive thing. And also part of the labor force who lived at the foothills of the volcano, their lives were severely disrupted and had to be moved to evacuation centers. And I'm just going back down memory lane. The ash fall also created issues with other parts of the labor force, people not necessarily living in the red zone, but also in the green zone, the ash was very, very present. So that was disruptive. And it slowed down commerce significantly. We're a year on now, and I can safely tell you that the commercial center is active. And by the commercial center, I mean the main ones, which is Kingstown, Annisfield, and the suburbs. They're active. The economy is, as a result of the volcano a year ago, I can safely say, as far as its impact on business is concerned, you'll have to really be digging deep to find a significant impact that we are still feeling as a result of the volcano. There are other economic shocks, of course, which we all know, COVID and the cost of living crisis that's been brought about by the war in Ukraine. Now, those are separate to the volcano, but we must not lose sight of those. It's not as if the volcano is finished and we are back to normal. We are not back to normal. We are not back to normal because of the other economic shocks.
However, the business sector spokesman explained that many of the challenges for the commercial sector came through the management of the relief effort. For example, he lamented that following the decision by government to grant extended duty-free concessions on relief shipments coming from the diaspora, many of the items ended up being vended on the streets of Kingstown. He also noted that the country received so many donations of bottled water that sales by local bottling plants was stagnated for weeks after the issues were fixed.
If you can imagine where people are getting in droves supplies from their relatives in the diaspora, and these relief items were coming in very minimal charges at the port and at the border, and some of them found their way back out onto the sidewalks being vended. I don't think anybody can dispute that. That will hurt any business that did not have the privilege of having duty-free concessions and having to pay the full, the full allotment. that became problematic. While the business community understood the reason for it at the time that the relief was required, I believe we felt that it was extending on and on too long. We actually met with the government to talk about that. You know, the business community, I'll give you a typical example. We have an entity that does bottled water, at least 2 of them. And water was one of the items during the eruption that everybody wanted to send, because naturally, with the disruption of the main water supply and your drinking water being at risk, naturally people would want to send water by the thousands of gallons. And we did get thousands of gallons of water. we were almost drowning. So the local water producers could hardly sell water during that period. So sometimes good has a negative side to it. I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying we have to be very mindful of where to strike the balance, because you can kill a business if you allow its main source of revenue to dry up because people are getting it free elsewhere.
Director of the National Emergency Management Organization, Michelle Forbes, told Nation News of some of the logistical challenges in coordinating the relief supplies that resulted from the outpouring of support from across the region and international agencies.
Logistics was quite one of the areas that I think we did have some challenges, and we were able to, it's probably one of the last things that would have settled down. We had quite an influx of supplies at the port, and sometimes things are coming in. We have no information. Nobody would send in information that they were sending things, but we had persons staged at the port all the time. So once something comes into in name or the key agencies who government would have actually prioritized would receive goods to serve the populace who would have been displaced, and we were able to sort them there. We had to have an alternative warehouse through the World Food Program. We would have, and CDMA, we would have set up what we call a mobile units, storage units at the old Iti Joshua Airport on the tarmac. So we have had about a quarter of the runway as a warehouse. We had to have additional warehouse spaces at Otley Hall, in Camden Park to sort these things out. And I think one of the logistics going forward, we have to look at a big central space that we could do all of that coordination, because when you don't have things under your control, it's difficult because you can have too many players.
This brings us to the end of episode 3 of Living with La Soufriere. Join us tomorrow when we would be doing a comparative analysis of 2021 eruption to those that occurred many decades ago. This is Colville Mounsey reporting for Nation News. See you then.